Funding for NotAVampyre is provided by viewers like you. Find perks and tiers at patreon.com/NotAVampyre. Thank you. The world definitely treats you differently when you come out as something other than cisgendered and heterosexual, but even more so if you're one of the less understood or visible identities like agender, asexual, demisexual, aromantic, non-binary in general, intersex, etc. Like, how someone treats you tend to depend on if they've heard of your label before. The less visible your identity is in society, the more pushback, bigotry, and general skepticism towards your ability to describe your own experiences you receive. Or at least that's what I've seen from other people's reactions. Hell, you even get in certain sectors of the LGBT community this keeping out the weirdos sentiment because there's still a rejection of the less normalized gender and sexual identities, even among society's outcasts. And I think this disdain for the different is where the question, why do you feel like you need a label, comes from. The question itself inherently asserts that calling yourself something other than cisgendered, heterosexual, or whatever society considers normal is unnecessary. That you don't need to highlight what makes you unlike what's considered the default, and that there's no benefits to doing so. It also suggests that putting a name to what you experience is an attempt to be a special snowflake, different for difference sake. Just wanting to call yourself an outsider and separate yourself from everyone else, as though anyone genuinely wants to exclude themselves from the rest of normal society. There's also the underlying sentiment of, why can't you just be like everyone else? Somehow your noting what makes you an individual is causing problems for the asker and also undue troubles for you. Now, even if these assertions aren't intended by the person posing the question, that's what's being said by asking, especially with that wording. It tries to make trivial and dismiss any reason to use a label that isn't default, particularly if it's not yet fully accepted. I mean, I never hear a gay person ask this, so why am I, as an agender and asexual, confronted by it? And if the asker doubles down and says, but being gay is a real thing, I'd remind them that wasn't the common attitude as recently as the mid-2000s. I think to best highlight what's wrong with this, it may be helpful for me to answer the question in full honesty for why I call myself what I do. Why do I feel like I need to label myself being agender and asexual? Well, technically speaking, I don't. Labeling what my gender and sexual identities are don't make me any more or less what I am. I don't need to call myself ace to know that I don't feel sexual attraction. Neither do I need to state that I'm agender to understand I'm a whatever when it comes to gender. But I find them useful to be understood. And instead of explaining all the intricate details of my gender and sexuality to every new person, I can just say I'm agender and asexual. And if they're familiar with the terms, then they'll understand. Now, I may need to explain still if they aren't aware of those words, but that's not the fault of the labels, but an issue of exposure and lack of education on less visible identities. I talk about being agender and asexual a lot on this channel because I like educating and exploring from those perspectives, but in my daily life, it's not everything to me. I don't always want to go into detail about how inside I'm not a man or a woman, so a label like agender that captures the most of what I personally experience is helpful. I have other interests than my queerness. On top of that, the question seems to assume that I see myself only as my labels, to which I say, of course not. I know I'm not only a mix of varied terms like depressive, agender, Caucasian, shy, asexual, touch-averse, introverted, etc. And each only describes a piece of what makes me who I am. There is nuance to each, but such nuance isn't always necessary, and there are times when a quick descriptor will be more effective. I know this is true for most people. Their sexual and gender identity is but a sliver of what makes them who they are as a person. And anyone who acts otherwise is just being superficial, which of course isn't an LGBT+ person issue. It's a thing even cis straight people can be. And for me personally, the labels hold a special importance for me. They remind me that I'm not alone. There are other people in the world like me who share my experiences. For most of my life, I felt like an outsider in one way or another. Too smart, too shy, too disinterested in sex, too dumb, too young, too old, too uncreative, too reclusive, too awkward. I'd never encountered someone quite like me. I could only tangentially relate to the people around me, and I knew they picked up on my otherness too. My friend group in high school treated me like a pure child because of my lack of understanding of sex or desire to explore my sexuality. My first girlfriend said I was very straight because I didn't seem interested in her body. Now, imagine the relief I felt knowing that there is a name for someone like me. That what I experienced could be explained with the term asexual. That I'm not just some crazy anomaly doomed to a life of otherness. That there are people in this world who can relate to what I'm feeling inside. Calling myself asexual and agender reminds me that I'm not alone. There is a community of people who understand and have felt what I feel. I don't need to bottle up these experiences because there is someone out there who will get me. Not just empathize with me, but will inherently know what I'm going through because they've been through it as well. Yes, I'm still othered in a way because there are non-agender or asexual people in the world, but that'd be true no matter what my sexual or gender identity is. It's not like there's only two ways to be, as in cis-straight or not cis-straight. There's a wide range of identities out there that we're only just now recognizing and starting to even try to understand. At the heart of the question is the query, why can't you just be normal? Or why can't you just be cis-straight like me? For one, normalcy is relative. It changes with what each society considers normal, or each individual for that matter. There is not one unwavering standard that everyone agrees with. And I can't call myself cis-straight because that'd be a lie. It's not what I am, and anyone will tell you that lying to yourself causes more harm than good. It's a special hell trying to make yourself act in a way that is untrue to who you are. Consider why the rate of depression and suicide is so high for people before they come out of the closet or before they transition. For them, trying to just be whatever is considered normal for the people around them is torture. I'm reminded of episode 2 of the case files of Julia Richard, in which a woman cannot eat and withdraws herself from the people around her because she's struggling to pretend she's not gay. She's been taught that she needed to be a heterosexual wife and mother in order to be happy, and that being anything else is a failed state. We watch her struggle to open up to the man who is supposed to be her fiancé, bottling up all of her turmoil to the point that she ends up in the hospital. Then, when she can finally accept herself and the person she is, her whole demeanor changes. The woman who was once eternally shrouded in shadows is walking in light and is filled with energy and life. Yes, this is technically a fictional depiction of what I'm describing, but I see this happen all the time. It reflects many people's reality to the point that we're seeing it represented in fiction. Partially, I bring it up to help a person who'd ask why someone would need a label to understand the issue with the ideas behind that question from a point of view that's unlike their own, as a visceral experience of what trying to be something you're not looks like. Hell, if you want non-anime examples, look at Zoe or Adam or Marco from Degrassi, for instance. There's a lot of harm in asking why someone feels they need a label, and I hope I've clearly explained why. It assumes we only see ourselves as our labels, that we can be content pretending to be like someone else's conception of everyone else, and it denies the value of a community of people who share our struggles and experiences. So with that in mind, stop asking this question. Only real update is I'm not sure if there's going to be a video next week because I might be moving if all goes well. And if you want to support me and make sure that I can keep making videos after I move, then check out patreon.com/NotAVampyre. Not only will you be helping me out, but you'll get access to cool perks, like you could have seen this video on Friday, or you could listen to my commentary track of my Frankie Isn't Racist video. And of course, check out this Discord invite link of the things that I'm involved with and to talk to me in my NotAVampyre crypt, or you of course can find me on Twitter at NotAVampyre. Thank you very much for consuming this video, and until next time.